Welcome to episode 264 of the Center Ring Esports podcast presented by Alt. This is going to be the best episode ever because we got a lot of esports to get to, ladies and gentlemen. The CDL Playoffs kicked off. We'll update you on the winners and the ultimate losers that walk away with nothing. We'll get into that. ESL Cologne Counter-Strike is officially back. Little bit of hype train there. We got some pretty good action, so we will also discuss everything that you missed or saw. And, of course, we have some e-news to get to at the end. But before we do that, let me tell you about Alt Esports, because they are the number one esports apparel company in the world, in the universe, in the Milky Way galaxy. Astronomers, I don't know if a universe is bigger than a galaxy. So they're the biggest in whatever the biggest thing in space is. So look that up. And that's what Alt is when it comes to esports apparel. They have came out with a handful of special Call of Duty champ playoffs apparel, including a badass Minnesota Rocker tie-dye set, including a hoodie and a t-shirt. They have partnered up with Atlanta FaZe on a jacket to keep you warm, and our very own Dallas Empire have a sick hoodie, long sleeve shirt, and t-shirt for your champs apparel. So get that while supplies last. I know that those are all limited runs, and you know what? As Call of Duty champs get going, the hype is only going to get bigger, and these things are going to go flying off the shelves. Flying, I tell you. So go to altesports.com and get them today. Oh, look at that. I forgot to put a liner in. Wah. Live, Anuj. What liner? Go.
DOA.
DOA. Nope, not edited. Another one.
Simp.
Not edited, but we got this one.
Hey, it's Simple from Navi, and you're listening TCR.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome back to another edition of the Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast presented by Alt. Wouldn't be TCR without some technical issues at the start. Hitting the liner button and all of a sudden realize I never put anything in there. So if you're watching live on Twitch, you just witnessed that. If you're listening to the podcast through the magic of post-production editing, I'm going to delete all of it and just make myself look good. Which happens quite often on the show, believe it or not. So we're not perfect, okay? Just because we're the number one esports podcast doesn't mean we come, without mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. It's okay. It's okay. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter at The Center Ring if you're not doing so already. And, of course, join our Discord. The link is in the description on Twitter, and be a part of that conversation. Got some little CDL watching party going on throughout the playoffs and into the champs. Anuj and I will be in the general chat. And if you ever see us in any of the chats on any given night, feel free to hop in and say what's up. Typically, we're running either CS or Valorant pugs. So you can feel free. There is no skill limit. It doesn't matter if you're brand new or not. We will play with you. So we're past the days of caring. You cannot hurt our ranks. It's okay. Don't feel bad. My name is Tim. Hello. I will be your captain for this journey into esports, and alongside me, as always, is my best friend, my brown friend. It's Anuj. What's up?
Your lack of space knowledge bothers me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
You know what's funny is I really actually do enjoy me some space. I have a telescope and everything. I just don't know the size of things. I'm gonna let me rephrase this.
Now that the galaxies.
Now that I have time to think, okay, because I'm just This is an unscripted show, so typically in those alt reads, I'm just
shooting from the hip.
I am just letting my lips are going, and I don't know the words that are coming out. So we have the Milky Way galaxy, which is where all the galaxies in the Milky Way are at. That's what we're in. But the universe is everything.
Yeah, it's all the galaxies.
All the galaxies.
Yeah.
What's the cosmos? Is that just a fancy way of saying space?
That's a good question. See, now we're getting a little deeper.
Cosmos. Cosmos, the universe seen as a well-ordered whole. Okay. So the cosmos is pretty much how we see the universe, according to Google. A system of thought. Yeah, okay. So that's the same thing, I guess.
Our next podcast will be a space podcast.
Oh my God. Imagine that. It'd be 5 minutes of us talking and 45 minutes of us Googling what the hell we're like, is this right? Did I just said
we might get popular that way for being so shitty.
Like it would just be like imagine
it might take off.
We could actually get real scientists on to talk real science, and we're just asking them the questions, and they're like, what the fuck are these guys talking about?
What are they asking me?
Bill Nye would come on and be like, did you just ask me what's bigger, a galaxy or the universe? Like, are you high? Like, what is going on right now?
Oh God.
Look, we're not we never considered ourselves the smartest esports podcast. We're just the number one. That's you come to us for esports news, not space lessons.
Are you drinking a balls right now?
I am drinking a balls of nude.
That's kind of like, that's dedicated right there to the esports scene. I feel like that's taking it to the next. Like, how many people are drinking a balls while talking esports right now?
I love me some balls in my mouth.
You do. Hey, it's good, dude. It tastes delicious.
I realize they sell them at Kroger right down the street, so I'll treat myself once in a while now. Some balls. That used to be like the energy drink of choice. That, I think, was the gateway drug for a lot of kids into energy drinks.
For sure. That's all they sold at the LAN centers we used to go to back in the day.
Well, like QuakeCon, right? And that still holds true, which is what got me into it again. Because like QuakeCon, everyone's like, normally I get balls once a year, and that's always at QuakeCon. I'll always buy myself one. And at QuakeCon, it's always like $7, and you're like, well, okay, you drive a hard bargain. Here's $7 for a drink. Thanks. But I will say, I think balls was probably the first, and I don't even think it's considered an energy drink anymore. I think it's like a fancy pop, because that's where it's in. Like if you go to Kroger, it's in the fancy pop section. It's not in the energy drink.
It's become like a, what's called like a, not a throwback, but a
vintage.
Yeah, it's like vintage now.
Yeah, like it's almost like back 15 years ago, this was considered an energy drink, but today's standards, it's almost healthy with the lack of sugar in it. So, but it is delicious still. It still holds up. And you know what? I might be 30 now, but the ball jokes are still funny as if I was 13. So
it's still good. Still solid.
Like, can you get me the blue balls? I like having balls in my mouth. I love swallowing balls. And it holds up. It's hilarious and true to the drink. So there you go. Balls, if you're listening, we'll take a sponsorship.
That might be the sponsorship to go after.
Like a case a month. I don't know how that works, but I will drink balls every episode. So it's a tasty beverage. No free ads, but balls are good. But nothing wrong with liking some balls.
Not on this show.
I can go all day. I could go all day, but I can't, Anuj, because we have a lot to get to. Because when it rains, it pours in esports, and it's just like you go months with nothing, and we're scrambling for stuff to talk about, and then all of a sudden, Counter-Strike comes back from the players' break. You have ESL Cologne, and now you have the CDL Playoffs starting. It's just so much action going on, and it's only Wednesday. I took today off of work so I could watch some of the matches. That didn't really work out as planned, so I went back to watch the highlights and sped through them.
Was it really for the purpose of watching the matches?
In my head, yes. In my mind, I was like, I'm going to have them on in the background as I get stuff done. But as you know now, when you have baby, when you have child, there is no such thing as taking a day off of work and just being like, I just need a catch up. I need a me day. I'm going to take off a Wednesday. That's not how that works.
I'm like stacking up PTO because I know if I take a day off, it's going to be busier than my work day.
And it was. My day off was much busier. I said I want to take a day off. My wife heard, so you want to take a day to help with the kid. So I did. I was attentive, but that being said, I didn't get anything on my to-do list done other than watch some esports. So let's talk some CDL playoffs, if you would indulge me, because we now know officially the two worst teams in the league and the two teams going home with nothing. You collect your paychecks, but you get nothing. You are the only people in the company not getting a Christmas bonus. So congratulations to Seattle and LA Gladiators.
Yeah, I mean for both of them, it's $100K minimum that you just lost in one series essentially, right? Because even if the other two flake out next round, which could very likely happen, just lost 100K. Now the only person that's happy about this whole situation is Aches, because he saved himself a little bit of time. He got a free weekend in, if anything.
Yeah, he pieced out a couple weeks prior. And in our preview show, and I posted up my bets earlier today for those who follow on Twitter. I posted my betting odds and who I took for today and tomorrow's matches because that was already up there. I took Seattle to cover the spread, which was just a +1.5, meaning they only had to win, just take it to a map 5, which, given the fact that I thought they were going to win, and I don't know why, looking back on it, I'm dumb. What have we learned in CDL? Very rarely do we get surprised, right? Very rarely are we shocked by outcomes with the CDL this year. That's not a bad thing, but damn. Seattle, they threw it in.
Well, I said Seattle might be one of the sleeper teams that could make a little bit of a run through losers.
Out of the two teams that we thought were going to lose, which were LA Gladiators, LAG, and which is super funny given that they're an LA team. Yep. And Seattle. Oh, I said Gladiators, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
That's their Overwatch sister team. Won't be the last time. I've probably made that mistake 1,000 times on the show, and you never caught it. So they're purple. They're LAG. You know how it goes.
That's their fault for making them that close.
Yeah, that's really on them. That's not my issue. I thought LA was going to be the team. I thought Gorillas had more of a reason to throw it in just because Aches did just recently bail on them, pretty much publicly announcing, we don't stand a chance. So I thought that was the team was going to take it back to the locker room and be like, guys, we really don't stand a chance. But they actually performed very well against a Optic team that everyone is picking to be the sleeper team.
They could have got 3-0 though. Kenny disconnected in both of those losses, So for them, that was just a terrible situation. They were past the point of, the restart being possible according to the rules, which nobody seems to agree with. And even myself, in both of those cases, it very easily could have been replayed. The score was close enough at the time. And in some cases even got closer in a 4v5 situation, especially on the hardpoint map where I think Optic took the lead for a brief moment there. But Gorillas got both of their wins on the backs of Kenny getting disconnected. So, theoretically, it did go to a game 5, but I look at that series as it was fairly one-sided in my mind. There was moments where Gorillas I thought looked really good. But again, it's just so hard to judge either of their wins. They both came in 4v5 situations.
Now, I didn't touch that when it came to betting. I'm an odds better, Anuj, and really the odds just weren't that great on either one. Like I had little faith in Gorillas, and it just wasn't worth the risk of losing it. But I want to talk a little bit about the Kenny situation. So obviously he had a sub in for Game 5, and because he just wasn't confident enough in his internet connection to survive again. Because like as you said, he ended up dropping. Was it the first two?
No, it was like map 1 and map 4, I believe.
Map 4, okay. Anyway, he ended up dropping out of 2, lagging out of 2. I kind of put this on the league in the sense of it is 2020. You gotta have a separate client for your pro league for situations like this, right? And it's kind of the beauty with Counter-Strike in the sense of like it's very open source in the sense of any tournament organizer and it's happened before, right? Some connection drops, something happens, and they need to reset. Well, they kind of just take it to the most previous round, and they can punch in there, okay, what was the economy at? Whose economy was what? Okay, you had this gun. All right, blah, 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 bam, bam. It's now 13-11 again. Restart. I don't understand how the only solution we have for a league, and I constantly bring this up because it does set the standard, that costs at least like what, 25 mil to get in. The only solution you have to where if someone lags out in a game that's online, right, and your servers are all over the place, is, well, play ball, right? It is, you play where the ball lies, and I don't really, it's almost like there was, I mean, obviously there's not a plan B, but it's like they never even thought of, what do we do, right?
So, yeah, like the developer is the first to blame in this situation for not giving that ability, right? Like they choose not to. They know it's a yearly game. Maybe it's just extra work, whatever. But then the CDL is just as equally to blame because then they need to also understand that those things are not possible. So we need to have rules in place that everybody feels, or at least most people agree to, as being fair. There were already rules in place prior to the CDL being there, and both of those maps would have been replayed in either of those instances. But the rule set that the CDL has laid out, didn't allow that to happen. So you're sitting there watching a 4v5. Talk about a snoozer at that point. Like, yeah, you might be rooting for the team with 4, but it's so unlikely that it happens that it's,
yeah, we're talking about pro players. These are professionals. This isn't some pug that you're playing in, right? These are pros. They're not losing a 4-on-5. Not going to happen. I think,
especially on a game mode like a hard point, no chance of winning a 4-on-5 in that type of game mode, right? Like it's all about map control, and to have the extra person is huge. So, yeah, I mean, equal blame is set there, and it just sucks that it happened. But man, did it make a hell of a storyline throughout the tournament.
I think honestly, what they need to do is give some grace. Like, so in this scenario, game 1, you have Kenny. Okay. I'm assuming when it drops, the game just pauses, right? It's not like the whole thing goes to shit and the game drops. I feel like that's kind of the whole point in subs, to where you should be able to bring a sub onto the server and just continue from there. Now, if they want to, avoid the abuse of players leaving, first off, I think it's pretty obvious if it's a habit, right? And then that's where the league can step in. But at that point, either let the sub play, or you let Kenny get situated back in, and you kind of do like you get this one time, right? You can drop map 1, but on map 4, when he dropped again, you either get a sub.
But they were saying that he was getting DDoS. It wasn't like an internet issue that he was having. And so there's other ways to combat that, right? By giving him a VPN, or having solutions in place as a league.
But in this case, I mean, a DDoS is still, for the sake of whatever it is, it's the internet issue, right? I would think in the rule book, it doesn't matter. Like, well, you're getting DDoS, so we'll give you 20 extra minutes. It's kind of just like, look, we got to go. It's an online, get it. We understand, but just have nothing is a little ridiculous. But you are correct. It did make for at least one exciting losers round 1 matchup. Before
you had Slasher tweeting mid-series, hate tweets at CDL after map 1. It was great. It just created more excitement for me to to stay tuned onto that series.
Now, I have a little breaking news for you, Anuj, okay? We've discussed it a little bit about on the show, but you know how recently Activision and Blizzard has been kind of under the gun for underpaying their employees? With the amount of fines that they're about to get from Optic, they're going to be able to not only give them all raises, but also Christmas bonuses this year. I don't think it doesn't matter how far Optic gets in the playoffs. All that money is going to go right back to the league. They were on fire today. So not only you said Slasher was tweeting during the match, okay, that's going to get fined. And first off, probably just a bad look that you're even have your phone. I mean, I get you're at home, but probably a bad look to even have your phone on you mid-match, right? Like,
I get that if they're checking something, whatever, like they're looking at their tweets. I think to be tweeting is a different thing during a match. But again, I enjoyed it, so I'm not going to tell them not to do it, but it was a little ridiculous.
But before the games started today, Optic, the org, not the players, not the owner, not anyone, the actual org's Twitter. So, and they've been doing these kind of little, I don't even know what you would call them, like little teasers for the playoffs, like little teaser videos about their opponents and things like that. And inside of that is, I would say, playful banter with other teams. That is fine. You can do that. I think that's funny. Maybe sometimes it can be a low blow, but hey, you're both in losers round one, so have fun with it, right? You both have had awful seasons. Have fun with it. But today, for their last one, decided to take shot and aim at the league themselves. So they eventually ended up deleting the video and then coming out with kind of like a half-hearted apology saying, hey, we just missed the mark on this one. But I have the audio, and the video's out there. It was still on Reddit. You can go and find it because people obviously instantly downloaded it knowing that it was going to get deleted. But I have the audio. It's about a minute long, so let's play the audio, Nuge, just so everyone can hear it.
In a world where competition is everything, where milliseconds can change your fate, and a split decision can make you a hero, there is one organization that seeks to break the dreams of all those in its path. From the issues with ping to the spawns on the map,
An awakening spawns at sea. This means a neutralization.
CDL makes sure they're always going to be in the lead. And if they aren't, well, they'll decide which team should be in the lead.
Gary's lagging out, I think. The point, lead change to London. Zero finally will fall.
Some may say they are the villain, others the hero.
That he needs in Chicago. They continue to hold. The spawns are here and Envoy. A quick little three-piece for the folks at home.
But here at Optic, we just want to know what the is going on back there. For real though, CDL made 2020 feel a little bit more normal. Now it's game day. Let's play some COD. We're Optic Gaming, and we approve this message.
Yikes.
That would have been a great yikes. That really would have made like a really, really good yikes. And maybe we bring it back up just for that reason. Because I would like to be that in the running, towards the end of the year.
And it didn't help that, like, as soon as this was posted, every other org in the league pretty much tweeted back at them, making fun of the amount of fines that they're about to get for it. Because I don't understand as an org how you let that one go.
Well, it says they're Optic Gaming and they approve this message.
Yeah, I mean, it says it right there. There's no excuse, right? You can't be like, well, it's the intern's job. Like, yeah, it does say you approve it, and that's binding, I suppose.
It's one of those things where I get what they were trying to do because it's kind of in theme with some of the other videos that they've been posting. But yeah, I mean, it's a bad look. You just don't do that. Like, you're bashing your own league. You've invested so much money into the league. Like, you also wanted to have like a good reputation out there. So to throw out like a hate video right before you go live for champs, well, guess who DDoS Kenny? It was a freaking social media guy that you're ripping on over here. Somebody for the league is probably sitting there just DDoSing the shit out of him mid-match.
It's one of those things. It's just, when like at work, sometimes you get too chummy with your boss, and then like you'll say one thing and you're like, oh, you're still my boss. Can't
crossing some boundaries there.
Can't get too loose here. That's what I was thinking of. And you're right. Like, it's one thing for the players to bitch and moan because let's face it, players have been complaining about the game since day one, and Optic seems to be the worst about it of all teams. But
Funny, it's like Optic and Seattle, two of the teams that are
yes,
sitting
and
there
I
at
get
the
it.
bottom
Some
right
people
now.
will say like, well, it's because they're West Coast and the servers. I get that. But as we've said before, you kind of play with the hand you're dealt and be a professional about it. I feel like Optic, the fact that they won and now they're in the winners, or I guess losers round 2, I should say. They want the new COD to come out more than anyone, but I'm really interested to see if they don't perform. What is it then? Right? Because they weren't good when it was LAN. So I feel like the online is just a convenient excuse for a team that's just not that good at the moment.
What do they say if they like advance really far all of a sudden? Then it becomes awkward.
Right. Yeah, because that's like, thanks, CDL. These servers are great. Like I said, no one wants them to advance more than the CDL because that's just more money they can take from them when they find them to oblivion.
I think what I'm most interested in next game is what do they do with Dashi? Because Dashi came in after not playing for 7 weeks. Okay, he has not scrimmed with them in 7 weeks. Came in on the map 5 to substitute for Kenny in shreds with the sniper rifle. I mean, the guy was just on fire. After TJ got I think it was ace round 1 on the search and destroy, he came out and got like a 3-piece snipe. And I mean, it was just so awesome to see that because it's such a big name in Call of Duty. I mean, Dashi was just an MVP level player not too long ago. So for him to get his chance to be back in the limelight, especially at this time, during champs on the big stage, that was cool to see. Like that was my story out of day one.
You let it run. Let him roll. I get it. You have Kenny. I get that. This is playoffs. You play with the hot hand. I'm a believer, like in the NHL, you don't switch up the goalies, right? You play with the one that won last. I mean, it's crazy to think like to bench Kenny, but you're not really benching Kenny, right? It's not like one of these like, hey, you sucked, but he did just play out of this kid played out of his mind. Like let's
find a way to put Kenny in the lineup and make a change elsewhere, right? Like you don't necessarily
that's true.
Have to just remove Kenny from the lineup, but it would be great to see Dashi to get an opportunity to play again to see if he keeps it up. Like I said, he looked really good with the sniper, and it opened up. Piccadilly is such a shitty map, but it opened up the map for him, and it was just impressive to watch. Like especially for a guy that's not practicing. Like I doubt he was really playing a ton leading up to the event. Like I don't see him grinding pro style matches in pubs, with anybody because amateur league is done. Like it's not like there's a lot of people to probably scrim with. So for him to step in that role, that was awesome to see.
So that was losers round 1. Paris ended up 3-0ing Seattle. Obviously the conversation kind of revolved heavily around Ogla, as I like to call them. I mean, real quick, Paris, Seattle, there's nothing to talk about. It was embarrassing 3-0. Seattle clearly mailed it in long before the playoffs.
Except for Octane. Octane was out of his mind again and just lacked any true support.
So hopefully they can get him support in the offseason, or what's more likely is he just pieces out and signs with another team.
Yeah, I mean, that team's going to split. There's a lot of free agents that are going to come out. A lot of free agents are going to move around in this league. Like you can already tell there's a ton of teams that won't stick together. And that's pretty normal in Call of Duty going from one game to another. But yeah, Octane will find his way onto a top team next year. The question for me probably is going to be Slacked. He had a really poor showing today. It was like a tough outing for him. But he's been on a lot of winning teams before, including like Luminosity and all that. Like he's had made some good runs previously, but he played pretty poor today. The storyline here is Paris. They looked pretty good. Paris has had moments throughout the season where it's like, Kismet and these guys have like put on a good show before. And so I'm also curious to see they're not going to be an easy out in the next round. I'll tell you that. Like Paris comes to play. And so today they showed it. It was a pretty easy 3-0 for them.
So tomorrow's matchups, you have our winner bracket round 1. So you have London, Toronto, and New York and Minnesota. New York, Minnesota should be a pretty beefy game. I would think though New York, I actually have them I think covering. So that's a -1.5. So I think I don't see that being as close as it might think. I think we're going to see more of a second half season type Minnesota performance. And Toronto ended on a high, but I think that's also going to be a pretty close matchup.
Yeah, that's really a toss up because Wuskin and these, like, Wuskin's been one of the best players in the league all year. If he steps up in this role, like, they could easily take that match. I could see them winning it, but at the same time, like you said, Toronto ended on a win. So if they're carrying over some of that momentum, it's been a while, it feels like, since that match happened. But if they can come in and play the way that we're playing, they have just an equal opportunity. That to me is a 50-50 matchup.
Yeah.
Where to me, the other one, the Subliners Rocker, like, I would heavy bet Subliners in this scenario. Rocker's been terrible since we've been online, and Subliners have been the opposite. So to me, that's a little bit more easy in terms of picking a winner there.
Yep. So we'll keep an eye on that and just kind of talk it out as the playoffs go. But we also have on the other side of esports, Counter-Strike made a return with ESL Cologne. No, they were not able to get LAN action going. So we do have the split between EU and NA events. I know we kind of poo-pooed NA. It's been okay. It's been all right. Earlier today, a little bit before the show, you had the NA, what used to be the marquee matchup between Cloud9 and Liquid. Cloud9, I'm not going to kid you about this. Cloud9 looked, honestly, in my opinion, incredible for one map that they won.
Yeah. For one map.
And then it was like they won in overtime on Overpass, and then kind of was like someone must have said something like, guys, we just beat Team Liquid, and then like the panic set in, or they realized that they're Cloud9 and just went to bed because Liquid ended up, look, Nuke was 16-10. That could have been a 16-0. Like I think at some point maybe Stewie started playing with like his left hand on the mouse or something, because it's hard to tell with this new how this new Liquid roster is going, because it was such a one-sided affair, right? Like this is the most one-sided 2-1 match I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, when it starts off like, what was it, like 12-0 or something to start off the game?
Yeah,
it's
on Nuke. Yeah,
it's just kind of done at that point. But yeah, at least that was entertaining for a little bit, in the sense of a map was taken off of Liquid. So for Cloud9, that's a win. But it's such a lackluster game, in my opinion. Like, it makes me sad to watch this version of Cloud9. No knock on those guys, just the expectations that I have for Cloud9 are really high because of what we've seen from them over the past like 3-4 years. They've always been competitive, true NA team, and we really don't have that from them. But again, they took a map off of them, so that's good. But overall, the NA side does feel, I mean, EG Triumph, like, that's such a lackluster game. It's a game I don't want to really discuss. You expect Liquid to 2-0 them. Only would have been worth discussing if Triumph maybe took a map or the series off of them. The exciting one for me was like the Chaos Furia one, because the Brazilians hate Chaos so much because of Leaf and the whole hacking situation. So that one I was a little bit interested in watching, and it was
weird for them to hate him for that situation, but I agree. Like, I feel like that should be the other way.
It was like,
Leaf didn't really do anything.
Plus, I enjoy watching Steel play. Like, that's always fun to me, because I know he's truly playing because he enjoys the game versus trying to get championships. He can't get them.
Let me tell you something, though. You ruined Chaos for me.
Why is that?
Because last night when we were playing Counter-Strike, you were like, man, I don't understand why Chaos is even playing Counter-Strike. They can't make it to a major. They can't actually do what every Counter-Strike player wants to do. They should just take that entire roster and move it over to Valorant, And I was like, damn, they really should. Like, not only I get that Steele can't ever do a major, but then his 4 other teammates are also perfectly fine with never actually making a major or knowing like, hey, I'm just playing here for the tryouts and then I'm going to go join another org.
Well, some of these guys have been like lifer tier 2 players, you
Yeah.
know, like John G, Vanity. Like these guys have been, we've seen enough of them to know that they're not going to probably get onto Team Liquid anytime soon or EG anytime soon. You know, there's like a pecking order. And unfortunately, like a lot of these guys are not going to have that opportunity. And Steel will never get that chance because there's no way a top tier team would pick him up because of his situation. So, yeah, you know, I said it in joking, but it almost makes sense.
It really
right?
does. Like it's kind of like, I appreciate you guys playing for the love of the game. August is positivity month. We got like 11 more days. So the positive twist is they really are playing for the love of the game. But why? Like go make your bank. Go perform at the highest level in a game that will allow you to do that. But that's just me. I just want to let you know you ruined Chaos Esports for me because I will never be able to watch them thinking, what are you doing here? What are you...
Just make the switch, make it easier on
just
yourself.
make
It's
the
probably going to
switch.
happen at some point for a lot
Just
of these
do it.
guys. So
Do it. And then you had 100 Thieves and Gen G, which, you know, okay. That's neat.
you know, I want to like Gen G more in the sense of like I wish I maybe paid more attention to them because a lot of their players do intrigue me, right? Like Som and Automatic, you know, 2 very likable people in the scene. You know, Kusta is almost like a rebirth type of story after his whole Liquid situation, and Simple and that whole, you know, crappy scenario. Vintet coming over from Tai Lu, like a little bit, they're an intriguing roster to me, you know, but I think they need time to grow, and I just don't know if they'll ever really get there, but they're fun to watch. Unfortunately, they fell to 100 Thieves 2-1, but this is a fairly entertaining series. You know, all the games I thought were relatively close, and you know, Inferno and what was it, Vertigo could have probably gone either way. They were both 16-13 games. But yeah, the NA side to me, again, after looking at the brackets, like Group A and Group B for EU, I was like, oh, this is a tournament. Like, this is a tournament I want to watch. Like, this is it. We're missing a couple of teams, right? Like, be nice to see Liquid and EG on that side. But everybody else that's on the EU side, you know, belongs to be in this category, I feel.
Yeah, and that's what you're tuning in to watch, is obviously on the EU side, because as you said, it's where the top teams are competing. I could still make an argument, and I would still listen to an argument that Astralis should be maybe not number 1, but at least top 3 in the world. I don't know where they're at right now in the rankings, but I know they've somewhat dropped since online play and their rosters and
8 or something, because it's point rankings based on like the players that you have also, and so
they've kind of taken a hit with that. But
they're 17 on HLTV.
Okay, so they're really low on HLTV. What are they on the Players Association ranking in Itch?
Shit, number 1.
But they started off with Fnatic, which is, you know, I think a lot of people going into it thought easy peasy win for Fnatic, just because Fnatic has been playing really well, or at least prior to the player break, Fnatic has been playing super well. Astralis going in with only 3 of the 5 starting roster because you still have Glaive and Zipnix is out still, which I thought they were going to be back by now, no? They still
I mean, I thought like one of them had said their comeback timeline, where Glaive said he's still taking a little bit of more time, but they were able to get 2 damn good replacements for him. I mean, it's not like
turned out that they at least used some time in the player break to work on a few things, because they kind of stopped Fnatic, all things considered.
Yeah, no, that was a really fun matchup, because first of all, Bubsky had he dropped 30 on Train, and Train was such a fun game to watch. Like, it really was good Counter-Strike. You know, it went into overtime. Astralis was able to pull it out. Nuke was more one-sided. Like Astralis really dominated Nuke, but Nuke has notoriously been a good pick for Astralis. You know, they went on that 45 game winning streak at one point or something on Nuke.
Seems like regardless of the players, that's going to be Astralis's map, no matter who's playing.
But Train was a great matchup. Like it was, again, very high level Counter-Strike coming out of that game, and it was great to see like somebody like Bubsky, you know, dropping 30 on that map, and you know, Device was being Device with the op, the way he just moves around. You even saw a moment where they were running 3 ops CT side with like S-Tag and Magisk both holding an op as well, and that was a pretty crazy couple rounds there. But Astralis looked good. Like watching them, I was like, wow, I don't know if they necessarily lost a step with who they had in this particular matchup. But yeah, the new additions, I mean,
I will say Astralis
paying off right now.
Astralis has pulled it off because there was a while there where I really enjoyed seeing them lose. Like when they were constantly number one, constantly beating every team, I really enjoyed seeing them lose. But now that I think because everyone just assumes they're going to lose, I almost find myself rooting for them a little bit.
Yeah, you know, I agree with that because they did have the, what was it, like luminosity effect, right? Or the fanatic effect, where you're just winning so much, it's easy to root against them. You want to see the underdog come through. They made themselves the underdog, right? By 2 of their players taking a break, bringing in some substitutes, some young, fresh talent, and then everybody doubting the changes that they're making. They've taken so much hate over the whole Refresh Blast Pro situation, just their involvement there. You know, they've kind of constantly been in some odd news cycle situations, and it's not helped their reputation. And so people were rooting against them. I do feel that's probably changed a little bit. Like I do think there's
See, I don't think it has,
let's see what they can do.
I still think you have a lot of people in CS who have the hive mind mentality that these subs and players and a 7-man and 8-man roster, that's ludicrous. You're just trying to steal talent or hoard talent. I feel like, and I know you're kind of the same way, I feel like we're in the minority where I hope that works out, right? Just so that way we're not having players go on. You know, you have 2 of the best players in the world taking 3+ months off of the game because they just need that long to mentally take a break. You don't want that. Imagine in any other sport, in season, right? Because other sports have actual off seasons that are a couple of months long. But imagine in like a random MLB season, which is the longest traditional sports out here. And Mike Trout, all of a sudden, guys, it's August. We've been playing since like April. I need like 2 months off. Call me like a month before playoffs, right? Like that doesn't happen. You can't have that happen for multiple reasons, right? Viewership and everything there. So I think for the health of esports and Counter-Strike, they need this to work out. Right.
And even if it's not necessarily, I'm not saying like I want 8-man rosters, but the 6-man doesn't bother me. 7th, I think gets a little tricky unless it's a developmental player, I feel. Astralis is Astralis. They have the ability to go get really big names to fill some of these backup roles. Most teams are not going to have that ability. But yeah, like having that extra 1, maybe second person, it can be incredibly beneficial for that reason alone, just to give some of these guys a break from the random DreamHack event or, you know, Blast Pro or whatever that's going on like throughout the year with event after event, like travel time, all that. Like it makes it like a week break in this case, right? Not just the 2 or 3 days that the teams are competing, but all the travel time and all that. It lets them mentally kind of recoup. And so, yeah, if you have the right type of team and the backup players have the right type of attitude, and I think it can work. I think it can be really beneficial.
And if there's one group of people that are happy that the Rio Major probably won't happen, and you might be able to make a make good on your Brazil Major, it's the Brazilians. Because MIBR maybe are hoping that they were playing on the NA side. maybe having regrets playing on EU. Are they over there now? Did I miss? Did they go?
It's just for this event, I believe.
Okay.
It's because of where they are located at the moment. I think they're I think they're in Europe at the moment. Obviously, this where they would have to be
Right,
playing
right,
from,
right.
but it's just for this event. And look, you got put into the group of death also, so that's not gonna help because Group B is like treacherous, man, from like top to bottom. You could lose to anybody in that freaking group. So, MIBR got it handed to them. I mean, this was a pathetic showing. This was really bad, and the Brazilian fans, after Furious losing to Chaos, like the last thing you want to see is MIBR get smacked by G2, who's been playing well, but
Yeah.
to lose 16-2 and 16-4, like these are not even competitive games. I mean, Vertigo was so one-sided
Which
from
is
start to
rare.
finish.
That's really rare to see on Vertigo, to be that one-sided.
Yeah.
So that's a tough pill to swallow if you're a Brazilian CS fan. That we often talk on the show how NACS is in trouble. Brazilian CS has been in trouble for a while now, and at the moment looking worse. So hang your head on that,
MIBR is just going to replace their fifth.
as they always do.
That's the next step, right?
Rotate.
Didn't help that TRK went like what did he go, like 4-17, 4-16 back-to-back maps?
We've often joked about it on the show, but it's the curse of the fifth player on MIBR. Like if you're a Brazil CS player and MIBR, you see on your caller ID they're calling, you might sign that contract, but you're also not going to lose your lease on your apartment.
If you're signing on with MIBR, you're signing it. If you're the fifth man, you're only getting 10-day contracts at a time.
Yeah, don't sign a long-term lease. Like maybe do the short-term apartment stay in LA or wherever they're based out of. It used to be California. I don't know where they're at now, but because you're going to be there a short while. You're going to be there for a few tournaments. Fallen's going to blame you for something. The Brazilian fan base will then hate you because Fallen doesn't like you. Rinse and repeat. And then you'll later join Furia or Immortals. Or who?
FaZe.
Or
Coldzera.
FaZe. That is true. Well, yes, for once in a blue moon,
Yeah.
it works out for you. Unless you are FaZe in this event because you got 2-0'd by Heroic. FaZe kind of looked slow getting out of the gates as well.
Yeah, for FaZe, like KRB's first event with them, I had higher expectations. Like I thought they really just didn't look that great, unfortunately. I mean, they had semi-close games, 16-9, 16-10 games there. Nuke was played a lot. I felt like I saw this almost in every series, but this was another one where Nuke came out. Yeah, I mean, Cold wasn't Coldzera of old. Him and Nico, I believe, were the two lowest rated players on the team for this series. When a Nico from another team is beating you, and it's not the Nico, that's a problem,
When Nico isn't the best Nico in the game, FaZe is having issues. We are not phasing up.
No, this was a tough day for him. Again, we'll see how they rebound off of it, but it was a lackluster showing. Like it was disappointing that even if it's a new team, they have in my mind 5 freaking all-stars on that team. Every player is all-star potential on that team. Brokey could be a little bit of the exception, but he was the highest rated player of the event for them so far.
This is why when you asked me, clutch or kick, is KRB going to be the thing that FaZe needs? I kicked it. I don't think they're going to be a bad team. But this has been FaZe since 3 years now, right? They pick up all these all-stars. They have all these pieces that you think would make them just a dominating team. And although they are good, they have been top 10, top 5 consistently. They also just cannot get over that hump of just being the best team. They're always a really good team, never the best team.
It's like a team that can beat anybody, but then loses games they shouldn't lose at the same time. And that's infuriating because this is a series they should handily take. Like, there's no reason for them to lose to. I know, Heretics has been heroic. I'm sorry. Is ranked top 15 right now. They're not in a terrible spot, but like FaZe is FaZe, and you just expect them to win these games. And like I said, it's more disappointing than anything. But again, I understand it's a new new lineup in this, with KRB, it might take a little bit longer. I was just hoping to see more of a instant impact across the board. Again, it doesn't help that Nico and Cold were your lowest rated players. Like you're never going to win that way.
And little bit of good news here for Complexity is that they ended up 2-0ing Mad Lions, who Mad Lion has been a team, I think, somewhat on the rise. I feel like ever since they've kind of formed, have always been like they kind of broke the scene and then kind of stuck there, right? So I feel like defeating Mad Lions, especially if you're Complexity, who's been playing very hot. I think Jason Lake is very happy with his investment with that roster. Normally don't see that all the time happening in Counter-Strike where you pick up players, especially in the way that he did, right? He kind of put his reputation on the line, became a meme for a while, but the meme's not really funny when it's actually working out in his favor.
Dude, Poison looks like the best player in most games that he's playing. It's got to be a good feeling. Like Poison had a 40 bomb, I think, on one of the maps. I mean, he was crazy. The dude he's so good. He's so young. He's been hyped up for quite some time. And now to see him in the tier 1 scene performing this way is exciting to see. But yeah, Mad Lions is a good win. Now, Mad Lions a couple months ago was ranked in the top 5 or 6 in the world. They've dropped and slipped into the 20s now, but still a good team. And you're right, to 2-0 them, to 2-0 anybody is a good sign. I think actually every map or every game on the EU side on Group B was a 2-0 finish from
Group B, yes. Yeah. Group A had a little bit more close matches. I don't really have a whole lot to say about some of these. Sprout ended up beating Big, number 1 in the world, Big. I mean, shocked that they were to lose. Who would have thought Big, the number 1 team in the world, Anuj? Look, if there's one thing that I will side with the Players Association on their rankings, is Big is not number 1 in the world.
No.
How would you like to be Big where you are number 1 in the world and you can't even enjoy it because everyone on Earth knows that you are really not the number 1 team?
Yeah, you're the number 1 team based on factors that have taken place during COVID, but you're not the number 1 team.
I feel a little bad for them because it's like they can't just enjoy the moment because anytime they mention it, people are going to quickly remind them yeah, but
you got 2-0'd by Sprout. That
whole COVID thing, right? And now you're getting 2-0'd by Sprout. It's just not good for the number 1 team in the world, Big.
No, unfortunately not. I do think I'm going to get off of Big's case for a second here. I'll give them a little bit of a break. I did like seeing Vitality with the 2-0 win. It was good to see ZywOo in a situation where he looked like ZywOo again, right? He was top fragging. He was doing a little bit of everything for him. He needs to do that for that team to be at that level. Shocks is an important factor as well. I think he played fairly well. He had a really good one. He had one map that was really good in particular, but it was good to see Vitality look good going into their matchup with the Strawless, right? If they had kind of barely squeaked by, or God forbid if Heretics had pulled off the upset and we would have seen Strawless Heretics, that would have been annoying. So I'm glad we're seeing Vitality performing with ZywOo at the top heading into this, the upper semifinals for Group B, because now that makes Vitality as Strawless a lot more interesting. And then really the other game, Tim, that stood out to me was the OG NIP game. The OG NIP matchup was probably the game of the weekend, or the series of the weekend. It went the distance. In fact, 2 of the maps were in overtime. Valde was 45 and 25, on the closeout map. But that was a really good series, and it was good for OG because they needed to learn how to win a series, right? They win these random games here and there, but they're not really closing anybody out. It was I think big for them, even if it's NIP, who's sitting at 13, not a bad rating. It was just important that they closed out a series. They needed to know what that felt like to be able to do that. And so that may be a big win for them. I think in this tournament it will be, because now they got Sprout in the next round instead of Big. And so this is an opportunity for them to make a little bit of a run here.
So action picks up and continues on tomorrow. We have, I believe, losers bracket round 1 is going. I don't think we have anything in the winners bracket. So By the time
Yeah, you got losers 1 and
I think it's kind of that.
yeah, I think that's it.
That's
Yep,
it, right? So we got some losers, but by the time our next show will run around, we'll have a little bit more action to get to. Kind of keep everyone updated just with overall Cologne and CDL playoffs, which, like I said, Cologne EU is living up. Like, that feels like Counter-Strike is back a little bit. You know, we had a listener in Discord mention it, that it just feels good to see Counter-Strike back. And I will say, EU Counter-Strike is living up to the promise. NA is a little lacking. Though I will say this, Anuj, from two dudes that have been playing a lot of Valorant and CS lately again, Valorant maps really don't hold a candle to CS. I know it's kind of cliche to say, but man, when you go back and watch, and don't get me wrong, Valorant, I think if I was young and getting into competitive gaming and I had to pick one to commit to, I don't see why anyone would pick CS over Valorant at this moment in time. But, CS maps, there's nothing like them. Even watching it from a spectator's point of view, it was so refreshing to watch Train today. Of all maps, like, you don't even have to give me Dust 2. Give me Train, give me Nuke, right? Like, these maps that normally you were so, like, meh about. Now I'm like, oh, this is it. This is what I want to see.
We played Valorant and then went to Counter-Strike, and it was like, what map should we queue for? Literally, we're like, just pick them all. Doesn't matter. Doesn't even matter. Any one of them is going to be a good experience.
Which is weird, because Valorant maps were created by the guy who did Counter-Strike maps. But clearly, one size does not fit all. So, look, they'll get there. Valorant, I have faith. But right now, just the maps on Counter-Strike.
It just felt good watching Counter-Strike again. Like, I've been watching a ton of Valorant recently, and so that's kind of where my mind has been, and we've been playing a lot of Valorant recently. But again, it's just something about the beauty of Counter-Strike, man. It's just so perfect for an esport. Like, it's really just so perfect. And we were venting about it last night, Tim. Like, I just pray that the CSGO devs will treat this game the way it needs to be treated. And that's revamping so many systems, including matchmaking. But yeah, there's just something about the game. I mean, it was just so much fun watching it again today. And watching Counter-Strike at a high level, there's just, I don't know, the clutch factor, you know, everything else, the mid-round buildups, the storylines that you kind of get throughout a whole game, partially because the games are so long. It just hits different.
Yeah. I 100% agree. It's good to have it back, and on a week where it's just so much action going on in esports, it's good to finally talk some Counter-Strike again. I feel like it's almost been like, how long was the players break? I think it was only like a month, but man, it felt a lot longer than that. So it's definitely good to get some Counter-Strike back and on the show and actually talking about it in a meaningful manner and not just for filler's sake. So there's that. Again, CDL playoffs and Cologne, that goes on throughout the week. So we'll catch everyone up and discuss things come Monday's show. But let's get in. Oh, that's the ending. Let's get into some e-news because we have a little bit to get to. Not a whole lot happening, it seems like. I guess that's what happens when big tournaments are going on. I don't know how to say it. Is it Vi? V-I-E?
Vi. Sure.
Vi. So Vi, which is a gambling website, bought naming rights to Dignitas. So now, Anuj, you better call them Vi Dignitas. You better do it. We're a professional esports podcast, and you have to do it.
This is like an easy deal for them to make because they know nobody's going to call them that. They're like, yeah, sure. We'll throw it at the start. We'll throw it at the front of our name.
I don't understand. That's got to be like the biggest waste of money for... You know what? I'm not going to say that. If anyone wants to buy TCR's naming rights, the price is $1 million. And we will Pornhub the Centering Esports podcast. Like, whatever it is, we'll do it. Because you know why? No one, and I mean no one, is going to call them Vi Dignitas.
No. Just the jersey.
Just the... Yeah, you're going to be on the jersey. But to say that we want to be called... Vi Dignitas? Absolutely not. Never
Sure.
going to happen. But hey, you do you. You do you, Vi. Per sources, Alex is now signing with, or planning to sign with Fun Plus Phoenix for their CS squad.
Yeah, and I think they're just in like initial discussions right now, so it's like it's rumored that it could potentially happen. I think we're still a little bit of ways from it happening, but yeah, that's the word on the street for them. That would be a nice entry point. Like they've done really well in Valorant. We've seen their team already make the finals of the last Ignition series, so if they can get their foot into Counter-Strike like they originally wanted to, that would be a great start.
Kind of surprised. I honestly thought after they made the shift to Valorant that the Counter-Strike money went to
Was the
Valorant.
Valorant money?
But it's good to see, right? I like seeing Fun Plus Phoenix commit to both. I think that's good. And this also gives them the option for once Alex ultimately doesn't work out there, they can move him to their Valorant squad. So, because I think that's probably the next step for him. Might be a little too soon, but we'll see. I hope that's not the case, but maybe. Let's see here. In the Flashpoint talent, that was for their Valorant. So the Flashpoint announced some talent pools for their Valorant Ignition series. Yeah, friend of the show, Doa, he will be on there. So that's going to be fun to see a familiar face. Maybe we can get him on the show and talk some Valorant. We have, who was it? I'm doing this off memory. Puckett.
DDK, Potter, Puckett.
So good to see Puckett back on a cast. It's been a while for that. You
Friend of
have
the show, Lex.
the legendary professional esports professional Lex. Lex, for those who don't know, was a professional Counter-Strike player, Call of Duty player, Battalion 1944 player, Diabolical, and Valorant Pro. Or at least he had those all in his Twitter profile as a professional at one point in time. So
Here we are.
there we go. That's Lex. Just kidding, Lex. And Call of Duty, it was an announcement of an announcement, but one that we already all knew. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War will be the next Call of Duty game, but the big reveal where we see actually new stuff will be August 26th.
Yeah, it was like a teaser trailer type thing today that they did.
Yeah.
It was nothing gameplay related.
People were
just
like,
a
oh,
little-
it's going to be the next one. Yeah, I thought we knew that like months ago. Maybe I'm just
leaked. It was like leaked info.
maybe we're just such insiders. We just knew that already. I don't know.
August 26th, though. I am excited to see what the next game is.
Of course.
I'm assuming Cold War's boots on the ground, Tim.
I would
Weird to see jetpacks
assume.
in Cold War.
I would assume, especially with Black Ops and everything. High hopes with it being a Black Ops game. You don't put
What
Black
guns
Ops
were used in the Cold War?
What?
Like, was it what guns would have been used in the Cold War?
I mean, that was 60s, so Vietnam.
Yeah, so we should have
M4s.
like normal M4s and things like that,
yeah.
and like
You'll have normal, modern-ish day guns. So you'll have that. It's also Call of Duty, so they could just throw in some laser beams or some shit and no one would say anything. In FPS news, you had the Halo delay getting a little bit more. The curtain was peeled back just a little bit. That part of the reasons for the delays were A, they're outsourcing some of the issues, and also apparently there's been major distractions. The team working on the game is getting split and also working on the Halo TV series. So,
they should have left the curtains closed.
yeah, like don't give.
This is not something you want to give out.
I don't need reasons. I don't need reasons why. Just tell me it's delayed and you need to work on it. That's okay. I don't need to know why.
I don't know if outsourcing your work is a good. I mean, I know a lot of companies do that, and I know it happens within the gaming
course.
industry. But it's like, all right, what do you get? Is like somebody else doing your multiplayer?
I don't think
because
so.
that's
I
what's
hope,
left to be like
again,
fixed, right?
Some of the big complaints of the game were just like the little graphical details. So if you're outsourcing those to a company just to touch them up, I think that's fine, right? I'm look, you're not going to change my mind, Anuj. I'm hyped for the game. I think it's going to be a good one. I'm just going to keep telling myself that until it's not. So I'm just going to I'm going to keep telling, at least until the end of August, and I can be negative again in September. I'm going to keep telling myself Halo Infinite will be a top esport. So that's all I want to believe. And in eNASCAR, the championships was just a little bit ago wrapped up. I want to know kind of the ratings because, you know, the eNASCAR e-racing was such a big talk. I mean, hell, we even talked about it a few times on the show early COVID, where it was breaking records for views on esports. Like now NASCAR for TV broadcast esports holds like number 1, 2, and 3 for the most viewed esports event on TV. So it's nuts, right? It also has possibly the best name in all of esports. And he ended up winning the 2020 championships for eNASCAR. Daniel Barafucco.
That is a badass name.
Barafucco. That's an awesome name. You will make it far in life if your last name is Barafucco. So there you have it. That is the eNASCAR champion, Daniel Barafucco. That will do it for the show, episode 264 of The Center Ring, presented by Alt. It's done. It's in the books. Thank you so much for listening. If you watched live, love you. If you skipped around or listened to the whole darn podcast, love you all the same. We will be back Sunday night to record Monday's episode, so you can watch live on that. Catch everyone up on some CDL playoff action. We'll actually be pretty far in the bracket at that point. And also, Cologne. ESL Cologne will still be going on. So we'll talk that on Sunday night. Maybe some Valorant events. I don't know. Whatever else is going on over the weekend. But hit us up on Twitter at The Center Ring. If you have any good yikes of the week, let us know. You can also hit us up in Discord. Our link for that is in the description of Twitter. And also our website, tcr.gg, while that is still going. But that is soon to be under construction. And everything there. So there's that. That's the show. Love your face. For Anuj, I'm Tim. We'll see ya.